Welcome to Startup Brainframe, where we explore cross-domain synthesis for startups who want to build the future. Today, we're doing a deep dive into, well, a perhaps unexpected figure, the legendary Jon Snow from Game of Thrones.
Right. And you might be thinking, okay, fantasy epic, what's the startup connection?
Exactly. But here's the thing. For us as neurofounders, leaders who are actively trying to leverage brain science to sharpen decision-making, enhance leadership, John's journey is just an absolute treasure trove of lessons.
It really is.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We want to pull apart some key moments from John's story and then connect them directly to the underlying brain science.
And crucially, make it actionable.
Yes. Give you practical tips you can actually integrate into your startup's culture, your strategy. Think of it as a kind of playbook for navigating the, let's face it, inherent chaos of entrepreneurship.
Drawn from John's integrity, his vision, discipline, empathy, and that really powerful contrarian thinking he had.
Absolutely. I mean, just think about where John started. No fancy title, no clear inheritance, literally the bastard of Winterfell.
Yeah, completely the outsider.
Yet somehow, against all odds, he ends up shouldering the fate of the entire living world. I mean, it's not just an epic tale, right? It's a masterclass in the mental game every neurofounder needs.
It's so true. What really jumps out is how universal his struggles feel, even with, dragons and White Walkers in the mix.
Right.
His journey just mirrors those relentless challenges founders face, making impossible calls, leading through total uncertainty, fighting for integrity when everything seems against you. It really highlights the core brain mechanisms that make that kind of leadership possible.
Okay, so let's kick things off with a really fundamental lesson from John. The power of delayed gratification. Refusing that temporary pleasure. Remember that quiet scene where he admits to Sam he passed up a chance at romance?
I do, yeah.
It wasn't just abstract honor. It was like calculated foresight. He didn't want to bring a child into the world who'd face the same stigma he did. That's profound long-term perspective.
It really is. And what's fascinating here from a neuroscience angle is how the brain actively manages that temptation for a bigger future goal.
Okay, tell us about that.
Well, John's restraint, that ability to hold back, it comes from the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. You can think of it as your brain's brake pedal for impulses.
The executive function part.
Exactly. It actively overrides the nucleus accumbens. That's the part craving instant rewards.
Gotcha.
Strong connectivity between these areas. That predicts better delayed gratification. It let John prioritize his long-term values over, immediate desires. What's really interesting is how the brain actively manages temptation for that larger goal.
So the lesson for you as a founder isn't just about avoiding shortcuts. It's about actively building that mental muscle.
Precisely. You're training those neural pathways.
You can consciously strengthen that dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, maybe by setting really clear value-driven goals. Or even imagining failure points to force your brain to hit the brakes before chasing some viral trend or taking sketchy funding.
Right, avoiding that Theranos trap, the hyped promises that lead to ruin because the short-term allure blinded them.
Okay, now here's where John gets really interesting, maybe even radical for his time. His decision to honor the wildlings' humanity.
Yes, a huge turning point.
I mean, despite centuries of hatred, despite his own brothers calling him a traitor, he saw them as people, not just enemies. He got that unity was essential for survival against the White Walkers.
A massively risky move, driven by deeper understanding.
So how does a leader's brain actually override that deep-seated tribalism, that fear of the other?
Well, connecting this to the bigger picture, it's about overriding that primal fear with higher-level understanding. John's empathy, his ability to see from their perspective, lights up specific brain areas, the medial prefrontal cortex and the temporoparietal junction.
The perspective-shifting hubs.
You got it. These areas actively dampen the amygdala, the brain's fear center, the part screaming danger when faced with outsiders. They foster trust instead. And John's own experience, being an outsider himself, likely sharpened this empathy. Made him maybe neurologically wired to connect with other marginalized groups.
So for a neurofounder, this isn't just about being nice. Empathy is a cognitive tool.
Exactly. It's a powerful override for bias. It lets you build alliances where others just see threats.
Which means the lesson for you is to embrace that contrarian thinking, especially when your mission's greater good is at stake. Don't fear challenging the status quo if it secures a better future. Look past the obvious divisions.
Yeah, sometimes the best partnerships come from seeing potential where others only see competition.
Okay, let's shift to John's unwavering commitment to speaking truth to power. That first meeting with Daenerys, wow.
Well, yeah, high stakes.
He didn't bend the knee, didn't flatter her, just laid out the blunt truth. The White Walkers are the real enemy. Forget the throne squabbles. Despite her dragons, her ego.
It really raises an important question, doesn't it? How do we maintain our truth in those high-pressure situations?
So what's happening in the brain there?
Well, this kind of honesty engages the anterior cingulate cortex. That's the part that flags conflict between your own beliefs and social pressure. And the ventrolateral prefrontal cortex helps resist conformity, helps preserve that integrity. It's John holding on to his truth.
So how do we, as founders, cultivate that? It's tempting to sugarcoat things for investors.
Right, but clarity builds long-term trust. This raises an important question. How do we maintain our truth in high-pressure situations?
So practice is key.
Absolutely. Practice having those tough conversations in lower-stakes settings. It literally strengthens those neural pathways, building your confidence for when it really matters.
Makes sense. And it wasn't just speaking truth. John embodied it by leading from the front, didn't he?
Consistently.
Yeah. Hardhome, Battle of the Bastards, riding to Dragonstone.
Yeah.
He was always there, on the front line. That's servant leadership in action.
It really is. And what's fascinating here is the almost biological transfer of motivation.
Biological transfer? How so?
On mirror neurons in his team. These cells fire when we observe an action, making us feel it almost. His courage literally mirrors in their brains, inspiring them to mimic it.
Wow.
Plus, his actions likely release oxytocin, the trust hormone. It creates this emotional contagion that rallies people.
So it's not just lead by example, it's biologically inspire your team.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Your actions are wiring your team for courage. Show up boldly, take those calculated risks, demonstrate commitment. You're literally triggering their mirror neurons and boosting oxytocin.
That's powerful. Okay, let's talk about another huge moment. Refusing the puppet crown.
Stannis' offer.
Yes, Stannis offers to make him Jon Stark, Lord of Winterfell, the dream he always had, and he says no.
Why? Because it came with strings attached.
Exactly. It meant breaking his vows, becoming Stannis' man, losing Northern trust, losing his autonomy.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about understanding what truly drives motivation and leadership. This fits perfectly with self-determination theory,
Which says
that autonomy, competence, and relatedness are our key psychological drivers. John's prefrontal cortex weighed long-term trust and duty, his authentic self, over short-term power. He preserved his real leadership.
So the lesson for you as a founder is guard your autonomy fiercely.
Absolutely. Taking money from investors who don't align with your vision, it dilutes your mission, makes you their puppet.
Choose partners who amplify you, not chain you. Your independence is strategic.
And neurobiologically essential for motivation.
Okay, let's unpack this crucial point about seeing the bigger picture. This feels central to John.
Definitely.
While everyone else is obsessed with the Iron Throne, John sees the real threat, the White Walkers. And he reframes enemies, like the wildlings, as essential allies. Shifts the whole focus to the Long Night.
That's classic cognitive reframing. Using the prefrontal cortex to shift perspective, dodge biases like in-group favoritism.
Thinking outside the tribe.
Exactly. It's mentally taxing, sure, but critical for systemic thinking. This raises an important question. How often do we allow immediate conflicts to blind us to larger threats or opportunities?
Perspective is everything in startups, isn't it? Two founders see the same problem.
One sees a wall, the other sees an opportunity to build something new.
So as a neurofounder, you train your brain to constantly seek that broader context. Shift from problem to potential.
Exactly. Now, John's whole story fits the hero's journey model too, which we touched on back in season 1. It's not just external battles, but an inner adventure.
Right. Let's focus on two parts, the ordeal and the reward. John's ordeal.
Well, it's literal death and resurrection.
Yeah, pretty extreme. Betrayal by his own men, a dark trial.
Total obliteration of his old self, forcing him to confront his purpose.
And what's fascinating here is how the brain adapts. Trauma like spikes cortisol, sure, stress hormones flood the system.
Yeah. But resilience rewires the brain through neuroplasticity. Post-traumatic growth strengthens emotional regulation, makes him more empathetic. He's literally rebuilt stronger.
So for you, those startup near-death moments, failed launches, lost funding, they're not just setbacks.
They're powerful growth catalysts.
Reflecting on them, processing them, it can literally rewire your mindset for more resilience.
Absolutely.
And then the reward. His resurrection frees him from his Night's Watch vows, gives him clarity, freedom to lead the living against the dead, a new mission.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about neurochemical reinforcement, that aha moment, the new purpose.
Yeah.
It triggers dopamine via the nucleus accumbens, locking in that change.
The brain saying, yes, this is it.
Precisely.
So the lesson is, change should be constant for founders. Unlike John, who literally died and came back changed, resisting evolution increases the chance of failure.
You have to embrace self-transformation, evolve your mindset, your strategies.
Okay, so what does all this mean for you listening right now? Let's distill it down. 3 actionable tips based on John's journey. Tip 1, run big picture simulations. Ask, what's my industry's great war? Your existential threat, AI disruption, market crash, whatever.
That black swan event.
Right. Then list 3 concrete actions to prepare. It's actively training your prefrontal cortex for foresight.
Good one. What's next?
Tip 2, audit your integrity. Ask your team bluntly, do my actions match my words? Where are the gaps?
That takes courage.
It does. But then actively fix the gaps. This builds trust by aligning your internal signals with your external actions. It resonates neurologically.
Okay, number 3.
Tip 3, do the right thing. Love this quote. A business that makes only money is a poor business. So advocate for a cause you believe in. Embed it in your startup's DNA. This activates your brain's reward system for purpose, boosting motivation beyond just profit.
Excellent takeaways.
Look, Jon Snow's story, it's more than fantasy. It demonstrates the neurobiology of leadership under fire. Integrity, empathy, resilience. These aren't just traits. They're trainable brain skills.
You can actively cultivate.
So as we wrap up, we want to leave you with a few questions to ponder for your own deep dive. Where in your journey can you say no to short-term gains for a more powerful long-term vision? Good question. What causes should you truly advocate for, stand by, as a leader and as a startup?
Really defining that core purpose.
And how can you actively lead from the front to inspire and truly galvanize your team?
These aren't just rhetoricals, are they? They're designed to engage those brain regions we've talked about.
Reflecting on them literally shapes your neural pathways for better leadership.
Start applying these insights.
Thanks for your time investment into our show. See you in the next episode.